And welcome back to this week's episode of the Broken Kid Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the real life horrors of what happens in life when you watch a movie and it no longer just extends to just that. It no longer extends to it just being a movie. It becomes reality. Now, you might be wondering, what am I talking about? Am I talking about Leatherface? No. With the release of everything and Charlie Hunnam's new show on Netflix, Edging Monster. No, I am not talking. In fact, I wish it was that. I wish there was a handsome man like and I'm a straight man. I wish there was a handsome man, even with all the prosthetics they use on Charlie Hunnam in that movie, in that show, in that series. I wish I had a crazy man like him in my city, which isn't really a city that would entail that, but I wish I had a man like him coming around, stealing corpses and killing individuals, and then that would go on to make the story for Hitchcock, Psycho, and then it would go on to loosely inspire the movie Leatherface. Now, you might be wondering, well, what am I talking about? I'm talking about something much more horrific. How can it be more horrific? What is more horrific than somebody digging up graves from a dead person, than somebody wielding a chainsaw going around crazy? What is more horrific than that? And I'm going to tell you, it is inbred. I'm telling you that my neighbors are inbred. Now, you might be thinking, you're crazy. There's no way that's possible. That is something that only happens in Alabama. And to that I say no. It is happening right here in my neighborhood, right across a few feet, well, probably like 40 feet down, a few apartments over. And it is disgusting. Because why is it that every 9 months I see a new little motherfucker walk out of the little apartment that I don't know, walking like this? You know what I mean? With a new goddamn deformity. You got more goddamn deformities than the Hills Have Eyes. In fact, they managed to make the Hills Have Eyes look like it's normacy. The Hills Have Eyes is a movie about nuclear bombing occurring within, a state, within a certain area, and it's affecting the people there. And what happens is they have congenital diseases. Now you might be wondering, you're being hyperbolic, you're exaggerating. No, not that many people should live. There's like 15 people that live in that house. It is not. And you're to anyone who says, well, they're just poor. No, they're not. They're not just poor. They're not poor. They're doing this by choice. So don't come at me telling me that I'm the asshole, because I'm not. And that being said, look, it is a weird, somebody, and don't try to say that it is like a mental condition. It is not, because as much as I believe in autism, and yes, I know that individuals can have mental breakdowns that are very detrimental, autistic meltdowns. This is not what that is. Look, when 2 girls are in a dorm room and they do it together, or 5 girls in a dorm room, it's one thing, right? And nobody complains about 5 girls in a dorm room making out and maybe even filming it and putting it on a cam girl website. Nobody worries about that. But when I walk down the street and every 9 months I see a new kid, or I see an old family member return and then leave 10 minutes later, it makes me question what's going on there. And there is no reason for why these people should look too close to one another in a way that is too alarming, yet at the same time, they can't make up their mind if they're walking like they're in a Western or in a Frankenstein movie. You know what I mean? So no, to my neighbors, if you're watching this, stop doing it with your family. It's disgusting. Stop. If you are gonna do it, at least use a barrier. In other words, use protection. Yeah, did you ever hear that campaign in 2008? I need protection, give me a condom. Maybe you missed out in the 2000. Clearly, you make the English family, the royal English family, look pure, and that is a family that kept it purely within the family. You are doing something that is spectacularly disgusting. I hope that the feds find you. Look, I'm calling you right now. I told my friend once. I said, he was telling me about this show called World's Worst Roommate on Netflix, and I said, one day I'm going to be on there. And he laughed. I have yet to be on there. But there's going to be a Netflix documentary about these people And it's gonna be in a matter of a year or two. Just like they had that one about the cult, they're gonna have, well, they've had a few about cults. They're gonna have one about them, about these people that live right next to me. Because there is no, that wife is not his wife, and that son is not just his son. It's not just their son. It's probably his, you know, it gets all confusing when you do it in the family. And here's this. I don't know people who have rationalized, well, it's my fourth cousin. It can be your 50th cousin. It's not okay. DNA that close to one another, that similar, should not clash to one another. Think of it as recording on a record player your voice and then going over it again and recording something over it and then playing it back and trying to understand it. It's just not gonna work. The DNA is gonna read inaccurately, and you're gonna get bad results. You're gonna get ugly You're gonna get ugly people. So that kid, those teenagers that are now adults, are far too ugly to say that it is just bad genetics. Bad genetics of bad mother and bad father. No. I know an ugly person when I see one. That is not an ugly person, and they have several ugly people. What I am saying is, somebody had a gun to somebody and said, "You better do this to them. You better make out with your daughter. You better make out with them." And I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm just calling it out. That sooner or later, there's gonna be a story, and I'm gonna say, "I told you so," and I'm gonna be speaking on behalf of it on Netflix, just like this. Yeah, so where do I'm gonna be like this on a Netflix documentary. Yeah, so where do I start? Yeah, so I moved in here in this apartment about 15 years ago. I was probably about 12 at the time. I lived here with my mom and my sister. Since then, they both moved out. I live here alone, and I have a dog, and I have a roommate. And they were always stroked. They always stroked me. No. They never stroked me. Believe me, they don't stroke anyone outside their family. They only stroke within the family. But they probably cut that part out. Okay, take two of introduction. No, they always struck me as weird individuals. I always thought that something was off about them. Not necessarily like they decapitate women and keep their heads in a freezer in a separate room, but I just couldn't quite place my finger on it. I wish I could. If you would have asked me 15 years later at the ripe age of 24 that it would have been everything this that has unfolded, I wish I would have been able to have said yes, I would have known, but I don't. And I till this day I still don't know how it happened or why. And you should probably check for their basement. You should probably check their backyard for dead bodies. They gave birth to way too many people, and when I saw all the people being escorted out in handcuffs, there was not enough for the amount of people that I have seen being, not with my own eyes, God no, I wouldn't want to see that type of fornication happening. But the amount of people that I've seen brought out of that house has been very minimal compared to what I, in speculation, think truly went on. And I think there has been a lot more cousin fucking, sister fucking, brother fucking going on back there. But no, and of course, they scammed me out of a few $100, car here and there. They took my parking spot. I think that's the real crime, I don't care about all the things that they did in their house. They did it all in their house. The bad thing is that they didn't move out earlier, but they could barely pay their rent. But that's probably what it would be like if I was on Netflix. If I was on Netflix, it would look something a little like that. And no, honestly, look, like here I have an In-N-Out shrine. I'm probably gonna end up using it real soon to put a real hex on these motherfuckers. But yeah, until Netflix comes knocking on my door, literally, for me to give a guest interview for, I don't know what is it gonna be called, the Inbred Scandals, the Inbred Chronicles, the story of the inbreds, something like that, And until then, this is gonna be your host, Alex Silva, logging off.